Welcome to part 2 of the 5th anniversary celebration of Good Earth's radio show, Another Day of Living, where the conversations are all about eating well, living well, and feeling good. And now, here's your host, Alex Litwack.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So excited that you're here. With me is a man that I've known for a number of years. He's had a really just interesting career. He started at the Syracuse New-Times as an editorial cartoonist, became a radio host in a number of East Coast cities, moved to Hoosierland, and became the cuter half of Wenck and O'Brien, which was on X103. And I think then they became Hank.
Yeah, we became a lot of things.
A lot of things. And then he went solo and did an afternoon news show on WIBC.
Don't hold it against me.
Yeah. And after that adventure, he became the managing editor of our favorite local publication, Nouveau. And his newest gig is as the content marketing manager for CEDIA. CEDIA stands for the Custom Electronic Design and Installation Association.
There you go. You nailed it. It's a mouthful. That's why they shortened it to CEDIA.
It is. And what this tells me is that you're sort of a difficult employee. Am I wrong? Do I have that wrong?
Completely short attention span.
So,
that's my whole issue.
Why is he here? Because this man...
Why are you here?
This man knows a lot about technology and wellness, so please join me in welcoming Ed Wenck.
Hi, guys. I love this, live radio. This is awesome. What time do we do the news from Lake Wobegon? This is tremendous.
Lake Wobegon becomes later. So Ed and I were talking one day, and I said, I miss having you on the show. And he goes, well, I could be on the show. I got all kinds of things to talk about. I said, well, what could you possibly be talking about? And he said, technology and wellness it's a brave new world.
It's incredible. What's happening right now is absolutely incredible. The reason that we're seeing so many advances in health and wellness around technology is that technology is advancing exponentially, algorithmically. I want to play a little sound here, if you don't mind. You hear that? You know the theme, right? Right. That sound is from a computer greeting card that Hallmark sells for $6.99. I don't recommend buying them. They're a terrible waste and full of toxins and stuff. But anyway, the computing power in that musical greeting card is equivalent to the computing power of the first computer ever made, the ENIAC, which took up 1,800 square feet. In 1946, if you were going to build a musical greeting card with 1946 technology, it would have cost you $4.4 billion. Technology is shrinking at a rate of 1 million times in size and cost every 30 years. This smartphone is 1 billion, with a B, 1 billion times more powerful than that ENIAC. And you can hold it in your hands and do all kinds of groovy things with it.
Flush it down the toilet.
Absolutely.
All kinds of
There's
things.
no protection for that.
Right.
In 1969, what would become the internet had 4 hosts. In 81, that number was 213. We are adding 100 things every second. Have you guys heard of the IoT, the Internet of Things? You've heard of this term? This is all the connected devices in the universe. The equivalent of 18,000 years of video content are added to YouTube annually. We are uploading more data every 10 minutes than has been amassed in all of human history. Every 10 minutes, we're up to this point, we're adding more data than has been amassed up to that point in all of human history.
They're incredulous.
What does that mean, right? What does that mean? It means that microprocessors are soon going to be the size of a red blood cell.
This is why he's here. So if it's the size of a red blood cell, does that mean it's something that you would eventually ingest, or it's part of medication?
All of the above. It could be an implantable device. And don't freak out yet. We'll get to privacy and security concerns in a minute, because I heard everybody's radar go off, and I understand. But let us suppose that you have an aging patient and you're a doctor, or a health professional like our last guest, and you want to ensure that Nana is taking the right dosage at the right time. Let us suppose that you had a microprocessor that you could pop into a pill that would pass through, hopefully, Nana completely and unobtrusively without leaving a trace behind.
We're back to pooping.
We are back to pooping.
Yeah, sort of full circle.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have any masturbation material, though. I'm sorry. I knew I was in trouble following that.
What a relief. What a relief. Okay, so Nana takes the pill, and that pill has a microprocessor
that
in it.
alerts her healthcare professional that she's taken the right dosage at the right time.
Everybody knows about Fitbits, right?
Sure.
Right. But that's just a very low-level incarnation.
Right,
So
right.
what's coming?
What's coming next? This is interesting. The term that I keep hearing, and we go back to Nana taking the pill, the term that I keep hearing is aging in place. We're having an explosion of aging baby boomers in this country. We all know that, right? People are getting older, and they continually need health care, and people get very cranky about leaving their homes. I have a friend who's in this industry, which is primarily residential technology. His name is Ken Erdman. And Ken talked to his dad, who was pushing 90, and said, "Dad, I want to install some technology into your home." And Dad said, "No, damn it, I'm not having your little cameras all over the place." So Ken decided, and this is an early adopter of this technology, to do some hacks at his pop's place. What he did was he loaded sensors in the floor, and he loaded sensors in a couple of medicine cabinets. So he knew, via a tweet that he would get, or a cell phone notification, that Dad had gotten up and put his feet on the floor on that sensor and had opened the cabinet where Ken told him to keep his medicine. And Ken would drop by now and then and ensure that Pop's medicine was still in the right cabinet. But we're approaching a point where we're going to be able to monitor folks constantly if we feel we need to, with all kinds of various user interfaces that will allow you to keep tabs on Nana. And if she has an episode, and if there's some dementia, are you guys familiar with the term geofencing? Geofencing is a technology whereby your cell phone or another device, another electronic device, transmits you coming home or leaving home when you get within a certain perimeter. So let's say you're 100 feet away from your house, and your phone tells your house, "Hey, Ed's coming home. He wants to hear The Dead at 80 decibels, and he wants the lights at 40%, and he wants you to start the oven preheating at 400 degrees. Boom. It happens in the home. That can happen right now. We have that technology to do that right now. Apply that technology to a patient who's suffering from early onset dementia, and suddenly you know that Nana is outside of the perimeter of the home or the nursing home or the care facility or wherever, and suddenly you have a geolocator on Nana that is the size, hopefully soon, of a red blood cell.
I want my parents to hear this because we're doing something. So is that a device?
It's a device. Okay. It can be. It can be an implantable. It can be something as simple as a pager. Obviously, you have to monitor the patient to make sure they don't take it off, because that will happen. So that's why implantables are becoming more and more popular. And I know there's some folks out there who are like, yeah, I don't want to be monitored all the time. And these are legitimate questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves and ask our legislators to address, because we've already seen that people now want to sell your browsing history to third parties, which the inventor of the internet, not Al Gore, the other guy, called disgusting. So there's a wealth of privacy and security issues that we're going to be addressing as all this technology becomes more pervasive.
So you're talking about people following a relative, a loved one. What about your doctor? Are they looking at a console that...
They could be. They could get alerts. They could get tweets. The simplest and most ridiculous example of this is the Tweet P diaper, which sends you a tweet when your kid has wet a diaper. Hashtag wet. It's a bit ridiculous.
I think most people could figure that out.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Although, let's jump to babies for a minute. There is some technology around the issue of SIDS.
There's a product now that's available called the Owlet, I believe is the name of it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And it's a sock that you put on your infant. And this sock can detect whether or not there's diminishment in respiratory or cardio function, and will alert a parent or caregiver immediately that child is in distress. And the folks that have adopted this believe that this is going to radically, maybe even eliminate SIDS in the first world. And the trick is obviously making sure that this technology is available to the third world, the developing nations as well, because this could be a huge, huge lifesaver. Technologies like this can be applied to all manner of wearable devices. I mean, your Fitbit will soon become the fleece that you put on. Your Fitbit will soon become the blanket that Nana wears. All of this technology can be applied into wearable devices, including the glasses on your face. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a pair of glasses, and I'm looking at you in the front row, and I can't remember your name, and I really don't want to embarrass you, and all of a sudden a little screen pops up that recognizes your face and tells me, you're Jane that I met in Grand Rapids at that conference, you're pretty cool, your kids are awesome at basketball, and your oldest son graduated magna cum laude from Yale. Boop, I got that information right there. That's called a memory prosthetic. And that's going to be handy as hell because I can't tell you the phone numbers in this thing.
I was at the point where I thought everyone should wear name tags. That is so much better.
It's coming.
Isn't that great?
It's coming.
I love it. Now, what about our microwaves and televisions? Are they becoming...
Despite the administration's insistence, your microwave is not taking pictures of you. That's not happening yet. Yeah, we're coming to a point where we're going to have massive sensorization. We're going to be approaching a level where that every square inch of a 1,500 square foot home can be sensorized. That means you can have a mic and a camera, tiny ones, and cover every square inch of your house. You're shaking your head because it's making you nervous, because a lot of people are concerned about being on camera 24/7. It is an honest privacy and security issue that we're going to have to address in the very near future.
Now, I know there's telemedicine.
Right.
So a doctor's sitting at home and he's maybe FaceTiming with a patient, or she's FaceTiming with a patient, and they're getting data. Is that going to be how we're all going to be seen someday?
You know, that's a really excellent question, and the answer is probably yes. We are still going to need to have doctors having hands-on interaction with patients. That's going to have to happen. That's not going to go away. That as we approach this level of automation that you're talking about, that means that there's going to be a profound effect on the way we all live and the way we all work. I don't know if you guys heard the Axios interview with Steve Mnuchin of the Trump administration, and I don't care how you voted, but he said something that was astonishingly ignorant. And what he said was, when confronted with this concept of AI, artificial intelligence, he said, that's not even on our radar screens. We don't have to worry about that for another 50 to 100 years. Well, that statement's precisely wrong, because PricewaterhouseCoopers just released a study that stated that by 2030, close to 40% of American jobs will be eliminated. Automation is going to take over both blue-collar and white-collar jobs in the next 17 to 30 years. And what that means for us is we're going to confront quality of life issues. We got to confront questions that our leaders don't want to address because they hang that terrible word socialism on it. We're going to have to start thinking about a guaranteed minimum income unless we want to deal with 40% unemployment. We're really going to have to start addressing some of these issues, because this is going to change the way we live, the way we work, and what we do with that free time. Now, there's two schools of thought on this. If I got a minimum income, I mean, is this my life? Like, Sports Center in this, a beer in my hand? Or is it going to be a life that allows me to be more productive, more creative, more inventive, more entrepreneurial? Somebody who can sit around and once again think all day like a Thoreau, or like a Walt Whitman, or like a Johann Sebastian Bach. Well, there's probably going to be both. And a lot of us are going to see an improved quality of life, but we're going to have to do a lot of hard thinking and make a lot of hard decisions to take care of those who don't have a good quality of life.
Is anybody frightened?
Well, you shouldn't be frightened, because technology is not... Look, I'm a believer in the notion that technology is not good or bad. It is. It's happening we got to cope with it? Are we going to control it? Are we worried about the singularity? Are we worried about Skynet, Terminator, that kind of future? Are we worried about that? Are you worried about that?
No, I just keep hoping that aliens from a benevolent planet will come and say to us, cut it out. Just cut it out. You've got it. You need to be nicer to each other. And we all need to, that's what I'm looking for.
But here's what's going to happen. Here's a great thing. Tesla, the folks who make the cars, made a huge mistake when they decided to call their automated driving system an automated driving system autopilot and not an assist. Because there's always some early adopter who's going to go, autopilot, I can take a nap, read Harry Potter. Boom. Crash. Okay? Early adopters of technologies always have problems. What's going to happen when we have autonomous vehicles is a lot of us in here are going to live longer. Because autonomous vehicles don't fight with their spouse, they don't answer the phone, they don't text while they're driving, they're always looking up and not at the radio. When we perfect the technology, the rate of fatalities is going to diminish dramatically on our nation's highways, and we're all going to live a lot longer. You know what? Walking around out there in the world right now is the human being who's going to live to see 300 years old. He or she already walks among us. There are people out there who are going to be what seems damn near immortal. And as healthcare improves and as the technology improves, again, we're going to have to think about what our carbon footprint looks like, what our climate situation looks like, what our food and water usage looks like, how we grow things, and how old do we really want to be.
Well, I'm astonished. I didn't think our bodies could last that long. I thought that certain systems broke down.
They will, but you're going to be loaded with aftermarket parts after a while.
Well, I have a friend who had what I have always thought was a really great distance technology medical thing,
right?
That instead of going to the radiology suite to get a mammogram, that you just went up and did it at your television screen.
Wow.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea at all.
No, it's not a bad idea. So when you talk about, distance medicine and all the cameras and sensors that may be in your home.
There are going to be times, obviously, when you want to see the doctor, but now think about this. If telecommuting becomes the norm, if actual commuting goes away, and all of that energy that we're consuming and then spitting back out as carbon emissions or whatever, because even an electric car has to get the electricity from someplace. We have to, whether it's wind or solar, which is great. What's happening right now with the technology that we're using, and our guys, the association that I represent, and the futurists that I talk to, these guys are all seeing a future where all of these issues can not just be made to entertain us and make our lives more leisurely and improve our health, but actually think about the sensorization of agriculture that's coming down the road. We throw away something like half of the food that we buy. We lose about 30% of the water that we use in this country through leakage and crappy systems and the like. There are technologies out there right now that you can install in your home that will detect a leak immediately in your plumbing and alert you via a tweet or however you want to be alerted. Now imagine the next step, which is coming, which is leak detected, little robot goes off, applies a glue to the leak, seals it up, another robot comes along. This is not science fiction. This is coming soon. We are in the Jetsons. Another robot comes along, cleans up the mess, makes sure that the mold is gone and everything else, and before you know it, you're getting a report that leak detected, fixed, all taken care of. Imagine a nanorobot in your body, if you have a heart condition, taking care of that for you, delivering a shock when you need it. I'm talking about the most amazing pacemakers you've ever seen. We don't know what's coming next, but what's coming next is going to be astonishing.
Well, let's talk about robots for a moment.
Yeah, please.
Because with the aging population and with so many people needing caretakers,
right on.
Are those caretakers going to be robots?
Yes, they will be in some cases. And not just the elderly. We're talking about a lot of human households having some kind of server robot. at some point in the future that will help you out. I know it sounds crazy, and I know it sounds super sci-fi, but this is on the horizon. Last year, Wired magazine gave us a story called The End of Code. We're not going to be coding computers anymore. We're going to be teaching them the same way we teach toddlers. We're talking about deep neural learning. And when you apply that to the kind of mechanics that already exist out there and the physics that exist out there, you're talking about a robot that will not only be able to understand what you're asking for, but to anticipate your needs and communicate with you in a seamless manner. We have gone through now two kinds of user interfaces is what they're called. The first was GUI, which is graphical user interface. And when we stopped doing the old green screen MS-DOS and we got a mouse, that was GUI, graphical user interface. We're on the cusp now of complete adoption of VUI, Amazon's Alexa. You guys all heard of that, right? VUI is voice user interface or voice control. And the reason that Alexa is working better than Siri is because they crossed a magic threshold that's somewhere in the 90th percentile. Everybody said, Siri sucks, because Siri couldn't recognize a lot of stuff, because she was operating in the 80s someplace. When you cross that magic number of the 90 percentile, suddenly you're at a place where humans go, this thing understands me. And when Alexa was able to pull that off, then everybody wanted to adopt it because it worked so well. The next thing that's coming is called no UI, no user interface.
I'm overwhelmed. All right, so Rudy and Katie, you have your microphones. Are there some brave souls out there that would
lay it on me,
that would like to ask a question of Ed?
I terrified the audience. Oh my God.
They're in a stupor.
Hi.
Hi.
So my name is Beth Neville, and I am currently studying urban planning, and so autonomous vehicles are a big part of our conversation right now.
Right on.
So I'm kind of curious as to how you think that autonomous vehicles will play into health, and especially right now, cities are densifying, and I think the fear of a lot of planners is that autonomous vehicles will continue sprawl and continue having these places where people can't walk, places people can't access a lot of grocery stores. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, man, that's an awesome question. First of all, autonomous vehicles, you can program an autonomous vehicle to get the hell out of the way if an ambulance is coming. You can program a city with the technology that we have now. If we stop building walls and start building smart cities, we'll be able to, do this stuff. If we invest in urban planning that's smart, that has the proper public transportation for everyone, because millennials take a lot of crap. Thank you for wanting a properly planned urban environment that's walkable and has excellent public transportation. You guys are the future. You understand what we did, and having a Camaro with Zeppelin in it was cool for a while, but now it sucks because we're all going to die if we keep doing that. But anyway, my point is that if you still have drivers out there who need to drive for whatever reason, if you still have fire trucks and all this stuff, and if you have a city that can actually divert traffic away from emergency vehicles, if you have a city that is operating in a manner that is moving people around in best and most sustainable manner possible, then yay you. I mean, the other thing that's happening is all of these systems that I've been talking about, the voltage required to run them is getting lower and lower and lower. LED lights, I mean, some of these things can run on 10 volts. That's astonishing. When you're talking about low voltage installations like that, you're talking about a few solar panels running an American home. You don't have to diminish the square footage, although you should, because it's a pain in the butt to clean. But still, you're talking about systems that are getting more and more efficient. You're also talking about, and I'll take your idea of a smart city and narrow it down to a kitchen, which leads us back into taking care of Nana. Imagine a kitchen, if you will, that will never burn another piece of food, that knows when the stovetop is too hot, that won't let Nana let the pot boil over, and that gets cool immediately. There are ceramic surfaces that are being developed now that pop on and off without any residual heat whatsoever.
But right now, all of these devices we use as we're remotely away from our power source have a very limited lifespan and battery strength. What are we going to do about keeping these things running? How can we get greater distances for these kind of vehicles? How can we get longer life out of these remote devices so that we're not still tethered to that cord and worrying that we can't accomplish what we need to? They're capable, but they don't have the juice to do it.
That's a fabulous question. And what's happening is the next generation of these devices are going to be powered by the sun. The next generation of these devices are going to be powered by some micro frequencies. There's a whole bunch of technology coming out. Heck, the windows in your home will one day be solar energy panels. They will. Have you seen the windows that you can darken and lighten now? I mean, lighting and shading is another thing, and biometric lighting is another thing. I now have a setting on the phone that changes the light from cool to warm. That spectrum of light can be adjusted in a way that will help the elderly see better and compensate with these spectral changes for diminished eyesight.
Last question.
So I appreciate everything you're sharing, and
Right
here's
on.
my question. So my background's in gerontology and long-term health care. I just had the opportunity to sit on a panel at the Global Initiative on Healthcare and Technology.
Right on.
Sat between these two amazing doctors talking about technology and how it's affecting burnout with doctors, right?
Right.
And all the stuff that's happening and all the input that they have to put into the computer, right? All the
Right.
data. The room was filled with about 50 doctors sitting there that they walked away with that had to do with burnout was talking to each other again. So how do we hear what you're saying now around technology and also keep the connection to the human heart? Because the thing that I'm hearing is that loneliness is like one of the number one
Right on.
epidemics that's happening
Absolutely.
between our kids that are heroin addicts and dying
Right.
and our elders who are not getting the interaction, thank you, and we're not accessing their wisdom
Right.
because all of a sudden you're, it's like a robot.
Right.
I want your heart. Like when you're saying, and not to be disrespectful of what you're saying, some of this stuff is so great, especially people who have Alzheimer's. I love it. How do we keep the heart in it?
How do we keep the heart in it? It's a fabulous question, and there's a couple different answers. The first, we have a group of people that get together all the time. They're called the CEDIA Tech Council, and it's their job to sit down and think of all this crap. And one of the things that they predicted was going to happen would be a vacation called the disconnect event. And the vacations of the future are going to include dumping this someplace and going and being with other human beings. Now, there's an upside. Facebook is a great example because there's such an upside and a downside. The downside is so obvious. It's a distributor of fake news. I control somebody and never get face-to-face with them and see the pain that I'm causing them, which is the most damaging thing about the internet, frankly, in my mind, in my humble opinion. But there's also a reconnection there that's happening. And I think some of that is good. But I understand what you're saying. And I think when we talk about things like the urban planning that's going on in the back of the room, I think we're going to I hope we're going to reach a point where we can figure out ways to keep the technology, but keep the heart at the same time. When we decide that this leisure time is going to be spent in the pursuit of the betterment of mankind, then I think we're getting someplace and back to the heart that you're talking about. But I'm an optimist, and you need to know that about me. I firmly believe in the human spirit, and I just think we'll overcome. I really do.
Well, I'd like to say that I believe in your human spirit and your good heart, and I deeply appreciate you being a part of our anniversary celebration and being here at the Vogue for our second part of our 5th anniversary. Thank you to Ed Wenck. Thank you to this fabulous audience, and thank you for tuning in. This is Alex Litwack, and just have a great week. Thanks.